Welcome to the first episode of Electrically Canadian. My name is Ken Pierce, and in this series I'll be sharing what it's like to own an electric car in Canada. You'll also see regular guest appearances from my wife Jennifer, daughter Ashley, and son Sam. We'll talk about our experiences with buying and owning an electric vehicle, including sharing details of how our road trips went over the summer, what people should understand about using the various charging networks in Canada, and once winter arrives, later episodes will go into how owning an electric vehicle compares to an internal combustion engine when you live in a climate that's sometimes extremely cold. This initial episode is focused on the purchase of our car, our first impressions of it, and how our first road trip went in our shiny new 2022 Mustang MACH E. Before diving into the content, I wanted to offer a quick shout out and thank you to Patrick and Liv from the MACH E vlog. Patrick and Liv's videos kept me informed and entertained while I impatiently waited for our car, and they definitely helped me better understand what to expect once it arrived. While watching their content on their channel and many others, I realized there wasn't really much out there targeted specifically at Canadians. While most of the US-focused content carries across just fine, anyone who lives in Canada knows that sometimes it's just a little different. Okay, so let's talk about why I decided to purchase an electric vehicle. I'd been considering purchasing an electric car since buying my last new car in 2012. Like many people, I'd been watching the market looking to see what was interesting and what was available. There were, of course, the Teslas, which made electric vehicles a mainstream option, and then other options over the years from traditional car manufacturers like the Ford Focus Electric, the Nissan Leaf, the Chevy Bolt, and the original Hyundai Ioniq. They all seemed fine, but didn't really excite me. Most had pretty limited range and features, and aside from the Teslas, felt like test market products or cars made just to meet minimum manufacturing requirements. Car makers that were dipping their toes in the water rather than taking electric cars seriously. When Ford announced the Mustang MACH E, it intrigued me. It was the first Ford designed to be electric from the ground up. Ford was definitely taking a risk by putting that Mustang badge on it, especially since it was a four-door electric crossover vehicle instead of a two-door sports car. This was obviously going to piss a lot of people off, and it did, but it told me that it was time to wake up and pay attention to what Ford was doing with electric cars. It also helped immensely that the Mustang is a Ford. My family has a long history with Ford as a brand, leading back to my grandfather running a Ford dealership in Sioux Lookout, Ontario before he retired. While I was born after his car dealership days, he remained loyal to the brand right up until the end of his life, or at least until the judge took his license away. Over the years, we've owned other car brands including a BMW 3 Series, a Plymouth minivan, a Saturn SL1, and a Volkswagen Jetta, among others, but driving them always felt like a bit of a betrayal to the family. Whenever the garage has held Fords, the house has felt a little less haunted. This brings us to our Mustang MACH E. I scheduled a test drive of a MACH E in town and right afterward decided it was the car for me. I ordered the MACH E from North Star Ford in Calgary in October of 2021, on the first day the Canadian order book opened for the 2022 model. I received delivery about 8 months later on June 3rd, 2022. Buying a car these days is hard. The most excruciating part of the wait was knowing the car was on a train in February but not having it arrive in Calgary until May. I don't know exactly what route that train took, but it was obviously the long way around. Speaking of the dealer, after hearing many horror stories from folks online, I felt it was important to mention that the people at North Star Ford were fantastic to deal with. I experienced no issues with ordering beyond the delivery times, which are obviously not unique to them as a dealer and completely out of their control. Once the car was in town, they made it painless to take final delivery. In terms of the car itself, we went with a premium edition all-wheel drive model with the extended range battery in Grabber Blue. All-wheel drive and the extended range battery because we live in Calgary, Alberta, and it'll definitely come in handy in winter. Grabber Blue because, well, just look at it. The extended range battery will also come in handy when we take long road trips like the one we did this summer to Vancouver. More on that journey in a later episode. Obviously, after receiving the car, the first thing we wanted to do was take a road trip. We wanted to do something fun, but not going too far, so our first road trip was a short one, heading west from Calgary to the beautiful mountain town of Canmore, Alberta. My wife had a work event there, so we decided to stay the night at a little hotel and then return the following day. Canmore is a pretty short trip, 104 kilometers, or about an hour's worth of highway driving. It is through some absolutely spectacular scenery, though, as you can see from the footage. The trip also afforded us the opportunity to try out the highway driving in the car and test the real-world range. Because it was June, the weather and road conditions were just about perfect for driving, with the only delays being some inevitable road construction. We also tried out Blue Cruise, and it covered the vast majority of the distance between Calgary and Canmore, with only a few small gaps that the automatic driving mode couldn't manage. The car itself performed flawlessly, getting us to our destination with no issues and no charge required. If you're going through Canmore and require a charge, though, there are multiple options. There's a Petro-Canada fast charging station with a 100 kilowatt and a 350 kilowatt charger, a new Electrify Canada station with 450 to 350 kilowatt charging stations, and a 50 kilowatt single flow charger closer to the center of town. That brings us to the end of this first episode. I hope you enjoyed it and will join us for our next edition when I'll talk about our first road trip that went beyond the battery range of the car. Until then, thanks for watching Electrically Canadian.